Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Soul Blueprint Conversations. Now, today is going to be, I'm not going to go through any charts today, but today we're diving into something that many don't really talk about, which is about empty success. Okay. Especially when you have the achievement, but it doesn't feel like it, right? So what happens when you hit all your goals? There are times that we have had people who have spoken to us and said they have hit like all their goals, but still there is something that is missing inside, or it doesn't feel like it, right? Perhaps like, could we be living a life that looks good but doesn't match with what we are really going through within, or what we really want within? Because I think one of the things that we look at is sometimes we may want something, but the environment and what we are around may not align with it. So today, what we're going to do, we're going to unpack that, and we're going to speak about that. Right, Lynn?
Right. Hi, Jocelyn. Thanks for leading us in. And yeah, I think this whole topic around success is just super important well, for me, it's important everywhere because there is a universal hierarchy of needs, how people define success in their life. And as human beings, we just keep chasing something.
Yeah.
And we kind of like put it in the bracket of success or achievement. And a lot of time, especially for Asian, success comes at a price of peace and at the price of our own health, mental health, emotional health, physical
Yeah.
health. As I've been exploring soul contract in the last almost 4 years, it's been recurring topic among the clients as
Yeah.
well. Like, how do I live truly according to what gives me joy and satisfaction, and how do I redefine success? Because everyone is expecting us to be successful in some way because it's peer pressure, it's family pressure, and social standards, different stuff. So yeah, it's worth talking about.
Yeah. I think one of the signs of misalignment, if we would say that, right, or you don't feel it, could be, you have it, you've been working at this job, you're doing it, it feels super good. I know of recently I had this client, right? She was so super duper successful, right? And one day she actually told her friends that, in fact, she hated the job that she's been doing all this while. And no one could believe it because she was just so successful. I mean, she was a
Mm,
director, she did so well, and she was so successful. So it was quite difficult for people to understand. And I think
mm,
that is something for a lot of us, we may find it difficult to understand when someone is so successful and they say they're disconnected,
mm,
because it's very deep, right? Because
yeah,
success in the 3D world could mean something totally different than what you may feel within,
yeah. I
right?
think this also reminds me of this thing, the Maslow hierarchy of needs that I
Right.
learned back
Yes.
in uni days.
Yeah, we all went through that. Yes.
Yeah, where it's like we start off with all the physical needs and biological needs, then we go on to safety, and then what's that thing, and then self-esteem, and then
Yeah.
eventually self-actualization. And when we are still circling around these few lower levels of trying to make ends meet, trying to achieve some status in the world for self-esteem purpose, but the timeline has moved, and
Mm.
it's the self-actualization, which is meaning, which is purpose-driven life, that has come online, activated, and we're still busy trying to chase the other kinds of success, and then it doesn't match with our internal
Right.
compass, inner compass, and when there is that mismatch, then definitely whatever that we achieve here, and we name as success, or other people name as success, would not meet what we actually need inside. And and it's a different level of success, or different kind of
Yeah, yeah,
success that
yeah, definitely.
our soul is looking towards. So yeah, that's where I find people who are 40 plus, corporate leaders, entrepreneurs, and high achievers,
Yeah.
who start feeling and questioning like, hey, is what I'm doing, really that, really it? And I think sometimes it's also about um, the draining bit of it, where
Mm.
you have to put more effort in because internally you want something else. So you have to put extra effort to achieve this part because there's a mismatch of energy. And that's even like double whammy.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just
And I
up.
think sometimes one of the things is also they're not able to find that mismatch.
Mm,
Because it is not necessary that if I feel like I'm not getting it, or if this I'm not in alignment with it, that does not always mean I know what I want. Okay.
mm,
Because sometimes these are very subtle signs in our life.
mm,
And I've noticed in many soul contract readings that we have had, right?
mhm,
Somehow that subtle little noise becomes clearer during the reading
mm.
when we point out to say that, hey, perhaps this, and then someone goes like, you know what, I was thinking about this all this while, but very quietly, you know. So I guess
Yeah.
that mismatch, that you mentioned, is actually what is expected and what the soul actually signed up for.
Mm,
Right? I had this client who was, in fact, an engineer, right? No, I have two like that. One was an engineer, one was an accountant, right? And yes, it was a part of their soul plan because you can see all the number churning and all that 3D stuff going on in the first part of their life, right? Because we have said how the soul contract has got two triangles and we look at it. And the second part of their life is all about creativity. Both were
mm,
exactly the same, and eventually they moved into something that was more creative,
mm.
opened up the spa, opened up something else, and they feel so fulfilled. I mean, of course, people would ask them like, why did you resign being an accountant, so successful and all, and then going into this? But I guess sometimes that is the plan, right?
Yeah.
And that does not mean that each person has to, if someone has got something like that, they need to resign. But perhaps what they can do is they can always look at things that are more creative to enhance, this part of whatever they are already doing, go into
Yep.
more artistic stuff, go into dancing, go into things
Yeah.
that more creative. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it doesn't always mean that if you're not fulfilled at your job in that sense or your career, that doesn't mean give up. It just means that, because we don't want to get the message across that, oh, it's time for you to move away from your job.
Yeah.
But there could be cases like that. Yes, there could be. No, I'm not denying that. But that also could mean a sign that you may need to add on a little bit more spice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't, we are not asking people to just turn their life upside down, leave relationship, leave job, even though there will be people who would do that.
Yeah.
I have clients who decide to divorce, after the reading. But I also have clients who decide to stay instead of divorcing
Exactly.
because
Exactly.
they recognize now what they need to work on. Of course, that's on relationship part. But as far as career is concerned, we all have been there where we are in something that we do just because of security, safety, pressure from family, society. Like a lot of families, when the parents are doctors, the kids also become doctors, whether they like it or not. Or engineer, and then there's also engineer kids in the house. So of course there is certain kind of influence and resonance and stuff, but I've seen so many people who just follow the parents or the seniors' footsteps without really checking in what exactly is my calling.
Right.
And that's where, even though they may be successful because they have the gifts from their parents, intelligence, intellect, whatever, creativity and stuff, but they can't leverage on it as much because their soul is calling them to do something else.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think we have also had like quite a number of parents who have done this reading, and they have taken this same thing for their kids.
Mm,
And I just love that part of it because how they are able to assist them, Because I think one of the biggest thing a lot of people, especially from my generation, and during that time, it was all about what our parents thought best for us. Of course, it was the best, definitely, and we did it. And most likely it was a part of our soul plan. But then our soul plan does have other variants as well, and as we grow older, we recognize that variance, we're able to bring it in,
Yeah.
right?
And I think one of the biggest signs, one of the signs that is easy for us to notice is our body.
Yeah,
Like if you just fall sick, you know that something is not exactly aligning. Of course, there can be multiple metaphysical reasons for you to fall sick. Can be coming from your relationship with your partners or your parents. But like I was telling, I think you and Karen, about me falling sick recently when we started the
yeah,
podcast.
yeah,
It's not that it's not aligning in terms of the direction of expression, but it's not aligning in terms of how we are doing it. But the body never lies,
yeah, agree.
when you are trying to push yourself above or beyond what um, the natural pathway of spirit would be looking like, then the body will be screaming, like how I had my migraine for so many years until I started stepping back. And being sick is just one thing, but it can also be other signs of the body. Like
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
have chronic fatigue, cannot sleep, the feeling is just heavy and draggy to go to work. Like, I
yeah,
used to feel that, even though I had a great team and super bosses who just are so supportive and so generous and all of that. But when there's a mismatch between what I was looking for internally and what the job could give me, then that body is gonna feel draggy, it's gonna feel tired, and you're gonna start getting all the signals and signs. Yeah.
yeah. I think that was one very big one for me as well. In fact, about a few years ago, right? Just as I resigned my job, after my husband had passed on, that I was trying to figure out what next, right? And I used to have these aches at the bottom of my feet, like every day. So
Mm.
initially, I thought it was something to do with moving, my leg and with the heel and stuff like that. And as I moved forward, okay, as I moved forward, I noticed that it was not healing, right? Okay, it was not healing. It was not getting better. I tried everything that is possible.
Mm.
And then I had a reading as well during around that time. So when I got that reading, I understood, and a part of why I was actually feeling it, because I was not able to move forward in terms of what I wanted to do next. I mean, I
Mm.
knew, but you've got all these expectations and what is expected of you and what you need to do. And somehow
Mm.
you're not able to move forward because of that. And
Right.
it came out on my feet, you know?
Yep. Yeah. Well, there is this whole thing about the body and mind connection, and it's a big topic that we're gonna probably be able to talk about one of these days. But yeah, it's interesting, and I think between the body and the feeling of you're being repelling towards certain direction of your life versus you're being drawn to certain direction or certain connection or certain kinds of community and circle. So it's all about checking in and listening to ourselves. But definitely, if we look at our soul contract, we'll immediately be able to diagnose: am I on the right path? So that's a shortcut, I would say. So yes.
Yeah, I agree with you, the shortcut, because if not for that shortcut, I think my aches would still be there till now because I'm still trying to figure it out. So I guess for me, this is what I usually tell people. Of course, you have the choice of that free will to decide to go through it, take your own time, but there is already a tool out there, right, that
Yeah.
helps you to get your answers. It's exactly like how I keep saying it's like this ways that directs, the directions for me. I can either take the long road there or I can take the easier road there, which is guided, in fact.
Mm.
And I'm not going to say it's an easier road, but a more guided road, so that I can get there. Um, and I don't need to kind of stumble each time. It kind of hooks me
Yeah.
back, right? So I think misalignment, whenever we say that we are not aligned, the first thing that we need to check in is how are we feeling, like what you said, within the body itself,
Mm.
right? And then see if what we are feeling, are we able to connect that with our purpose? Okay.
Yeah.
So the body gives us the signal, the mind gives us the signal, okay? And somehow we would notice, right? This is something very interesting that I've seen.
Mm.
Whenever you're supposed to be doing something, or you feel disconnected and you feel like something else is out there, you somehow get the signs, right? And the signs would come through, like you're swiping through your Facebook, or you're looking and speaking to someone and the person mentions it. So very important is to look
Mm.
out for the signs in terms of whether they're visual
Yeah.
or you're hearing it. Maybe you could hear it on a podcast, maybe you could hear it on YouTube, you could hear it somewhere,
Yeah.
right? So looking out for the signs would be one that has really worked for me.
So it's like you look out for the signs that would give you the right pathway versus, and also you can look out for the sign that tells you that what you're doing is not right.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I've had that like many times, whenever I'm thinking of something and I'm like wondering, like, should I do this? Either I would get a sign to say, go forward. Someone will be talking about it, or I'll see a swipe somewhere, or I would get a sign to say, that doesn't feel, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I think one is definitely look out in the body. Number two, look out for signs, because signs are all around us as long as we are aware.
Yep. Yep.
The awareness is super important. Many times, the one thing that I speak a lot is about awareness. Because if we don't have that awareness and we're not creating that awareness, the sign can just pass in front of you, and, you may
Yeah.
not be actually looking at it. Yeah.
Yep. And it comes back to how we leverage on soul contract work to actually recognize, because the whole map of the soul contract would spell out for you what are the patterns that are out of alignment. So
Right.
when you have that at the back of your mind as a framework of information for you, and then you are stepping into it, it's easier for you to recognize or to be aware that, hey, I'm out of alignment. I'm stepping into the karmic patterns here. And how do I step back? How do I redirect myself? And so
Yeah.
it's a pretty peaceful way of, of spotting
Yeah.
the misalignment. But coming back to the whole empty success thing, I think there's just so many things that we can kind of dissect here, like the root cause, the why, and the how, and stuff like that. But I think for this little episode, I thought the most important thing we just want to bring up is that um, don't just suppress your feelings and
Yeah.
your body, because you have to strive, you have to work hard, you have to take responsibilities, and you have to keep moving on along that path, the old pathway. There can be different possibilities out there, and the moment you recognize that emptiness or that uh, unfulfillment that the current direction is giving
Mhm.
you, start looking out and see what else is there. How else can I listen to myself and my intuition to make the shift, make small shifts, so that eventually the trajectory would be redirected so that it's more aligned with
Mhm.
my soul. Otherwise, you're just going to pay the price down the road.
Yeah.
And that's what
And
I've seen in
yeah,
many
yeah,
people,
agree.
whether it's emotional health or mental health or physical health. So, yeah,
And I think one of the biggest thing is the minute you even think about it, that's already a sign.
yes.
I mean, beyond even going to the body, or looking at signs externally, the minute that silent whisper is there, it's already a sign.
It's
Either,
your soul whisper.
yeah, it's a soul whisper. Either time to look at something else, or time to add spices into the current life. Because it's not always about moving away, like we mentioned. It could
Yeah.
be just about adding spices into it, and to create more magic, however you may look at it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you found whatever that we talk about helpful, and what's the word? You're drawn to check out what tools are there to help you move through the empty success syndrome of modern society, then check out our tool that we have to offer, the soul
Yeah.
contract reading. If you're drawn to this work, send us message or comment or
And the form, they can always fill up that form with, if they want us to
yeah,
just look at that part of it,
yes.
We
So that
can tell
we
them the
can
signs
diagnose.
from there, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, we can help you diagnose whether you are
Yeah.
aligning with your success
Yeah.
signature.
Yeah. I just let
Okay,
you know.
right. Anything else, Justin? For
Yeah, I think it's a very big topic, but today I think our focus is just on just understanding that whisper does mean something, and
mm,
it's not always about moving away. It could be just about adding on or creating something within the
mm,
same environment. Okay, and look out for the signs in your body, around you, and most importantly, be aware because that is already the first step to everything else that you need.
yep,
Yeah.
right. Thank you for joining us again, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Yeah. Thank you,
Bye,
everyone, and see
everyone.
you soon. Bye.